Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you once again for one of my Q&As. I've been saying for a while I was going to do one, and so today I found some time, and let's get cracking, because I put out a question on Twitter asking for all your questions and opinions about Arsenal if you wanted to get involved, and so many of you have got involved. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm just going to go straight into this one because it's going to be there's a lot to get through, and I will imagine this is going to have to be split into a few parts rather than just chucking on a video that's probably going to be well over an hour long or something like that. I might split it into a few parts just to make it slightly easier watching for you guys, so you don't have to just sit through me rambling on for hours on end. So do look out for that over the coming days. I'll probably stagger these, either two of them or maybe even three of them, depending how long the video ends up being. And so yeah, do look out for these over the coming days. I'll upload them when I can. Right, so let's get cracking, shall we? Straight into this, don't want to waste any more of your time. We will start with Etrapriv. At Etrapriv says, who are we looking to move on? Hopefully all of Socrates, Chambers, Kolasinac, Mustafi and Guendouzi. Then he goes on, Partey, centre-back and a creative midfielder. Are they seeked in that order? Any chance of us getting Dybala with Lacazette? How much funds with and without Europa spot? So lots of questions for Etrapriv. I'm going to rattle through them pretty quickly, so I don't waste too much time on it. In terms of who players Arsenal looking to move on, look, I've said it before on these Q&As and other things. I think basically anyone is for sale in its Arsenal squad at the moment. I think given the situation, if a decent offer comes in for anyone, then the club will think about it. But certainly the ones they would really like to move on, obviously Mesut Ozil, they'd be desperate to get out. I think Socrates, they would be happy to move on, although I understand Socrates doesn't really want to go anywhere at the moment. He's quite happy to see out the last year of his contract unless the club say something directly to him, which I don't think they have. Not that I understand they have anyway. Kolasinac, I think Arsenal would love to move on. Guendouzi, they would certainly like to move on. There's plans afoot at the moment. He is being offered around given the situation. He's not training with the squad at the moment. He's not apologising, and he's got 2 years left on his contract, and given what's going on at the moment, he's not going to sign a new one, so he's very much available, and clubs across Europe have been made aware of that fact. Chambers, I don't think they're going to move him on. He's injured, so I think they're going to struggle to do that anyway. And I think Artesa would want to have a look at him once he gets back fit anyway. In terms of what order Arsenal are seeking recruitments, I don't know what order they're seeking. I know that they're looking at centre-back, they're looking at central midfielder, and they're certainly looking at forward options depending on what happens with Aubameyang. Obviously, if he signs his contract, then Arsenal won't really prioritise a forward unless someone leaves. But if someone does leave, then they will have to look at recruiting in the forward areas. But certainly a sort of attacking midfield option, centre midfield option, centre-back right through the spine, that is where Arsenal are looking at. Any chance of us getting Dybala? No. Simple as that. How much funds with and without Eurosport? I can't answer that. Arsenal don't even know that at the moment. They're sort of working towards different things. But I don't know what the transfer budget is going to be. I know it's not going to be massive, and I know if they don't get Europa League, it's certainly not going to be very much at all, unless they sell players to fund recruitment. So that's that. That's that question done. Mr. Sunshine, very happy name. Charles, please, what's the update on Matt Vienko? It was my understanding that Arsenal were going after him last summer. Obviously a promising young lad. Yeah, Arsenal were looking at him when they were looking at those left-sided centre-back options, but they signed Pablo Mari instead, so I can't see there's any way that Matt Vienko is still going to be a potential target for Arsenal. Plus, he'd be very expensive. Ryan says, after beating City and Liverpool, along with our strong performances against top clubs the week prior, clearly Arteta is the right man. Do you think our board will be willing to financially back him? Ryan, as I said earlier, it's tough for me to say exactly what Arsenal are going to do in terms of backing, how much funds are going to be made available for Arteta. He doesn't even know yet. So you're just going to have to wait and see how the next couple of weeks pans out. And if Arsenal do manage to get themselves into Europe, then the transfer funds are certainly going to be boosted, but they're not going to be huge. Given Europa League might only be £30 million, this year they're not even going to make, because they got knocked out in the last 32 stage, they're only going to make about 20 odd million pounds. The year they reached the final, it was £35 million. So that fluctuates, but whatever it is, it's still a nice little boost. It's still a player, possibly 2 players. So it is very important. That's why Arteta is so desperate for Arsenal to get into Europe. Near says, happy with Saliba holding Louise Murray Chambers as centre-back options for now. Obviously, both Kolasinac and Tierney can play left centre-back if we continue. don't know if that's you asking me or if that's your opinion, Near. My opinion on defence, I do think Arsenal do need one more centre-back. I know Mustafi's been very good recently. I know Louise was fantastic in the semi-final, but I still think Arsenal need another centre-back option, even with Saliba coming in. I'd love them to get another centre-back in the summer and really sort of have a pairing that could go forward for an awful long time together. You know, Saliba and someone else. Like I said, I'm not sure on Marriott. I just haven't seen enough of him. Whether to think he's an absolute guaranteed first choice for Arsenal, I'm not sure. Although he has looked pretty impressive when he's played. But I still think Arsenal need one more centre-back. So that's my opinion on Arsenal defensively this summer. Present and Future says, is Aubameyang interested in signing a new contract? Yes, he is interested in signing a new contract. He loves Arsenal. He loves London. He really likes Mikel Arteta. He is interested, but that's not saying he's going to sign, because obviously there's plenty of other clubs that will be interested in him as well. And Aubameyang and his agent, which is his dad, will be listening to all of that. But Arsenal are pretty confident. You just only need to listen to the words that the messages Mikel Arteta's putting out. You know, he thinks that he's got a chance of convincing Aubameyang to stay, despite, even if Arsenal don't make it into Europe. So Aubameyang is absolutely interested in signing a new Arsenal contract. Whether he will, I can't say. It's impossible for me to say at the moment. Only he knows that. Only Arsenal know that, and even Arsenal haven't even been told that yet. So Aubameyang's still making his decision. So we'll have to wait and see. But Arsenal absolutely wants him to stay. Arteta's desperate for him to stay, and the messages that Arteta has been getting from Aubameyang suggests that Auba is quite happy to stay as well, as long as the stars align. And but we're going to have to wait and see over the next couple of weeks. It's all going to become clear. Present and Future also asked, do you think Partey coming to Arsenal is a possibility? Yes, I do. I've said that many a times on here before. What's wrong with Guendouzi? Tough question. Clearly doesn't. He's clashed with Arteta. He's not saying sorry. He's a very strong-willed personality. Guendouzi, you only have to look what happened at Lorient when he was there, when he fell out with a coach and was out of the team for months. You know, he's got this attitude that, in a way, is good, and it, you know, for such a young player, it certainly helped him at times. But he also needs time. He needs to pull back and have respect and understand what people above him and the coaches are saying to him. And you only have to talk to Guendouzi's friends to know that even they think that it's an issue that he needs to sort out, and it could affect his career going forward. So that's what's wrong with Guendouzi at the moment. And is his time at Arsenal over? I think it is. If Arsenal signs a centre back, can it be Upamecano or Sarr? Both of those very much players that Arsenal like. Upamecano, I've said it before, I think is just going to be too expensive for Arsenal this summer. I'd be surprised if they get him, but they want him, they like him. He's a player that they've watched for a long time, but several other top clubs in Europe who have more funds for Arsenal also want him, and it'd be very difficult unless Arsenal make some big money from player sales. I think it'd be a struggle for them to get them. They are looking at Malang Sarr. They haven't offered him a contract. He's a free agent, which would be an attractive option. He knows that Arsenal are looking at him, but he hasn't had a contract offer from Arsenal yet. He has had contract offers from a lot of other clubs. Torreira in Italy are really pushing for him. Clubs in Germany as well. So although Arsenal like Sarr, I don't think they're as far down the line with it as other clubs. But he's still waiting, Sarr. He's not made a decision yet, and I think he's well aware that some clubs, including Arsenal, their financial outlook will become a lot clearer in the next couple of weeks once the season ends. So that's not saying that Arsenal won't offer him a contract, but at the moment they haven't. His last question from Present and Future, can Coutinho join? I've gone over this loads of times well, so I'm not going to take too much time on it. I still think it's unlikely. I think the finances involved, even if it's a loan, is unlikely. But as a caveat to that, his agent is Kia Drabchin, and the fact that Kia is his agent means it's impossible to rule it out, just because of Kia's relationship with Arsenal and Coutinho's eagerness to come back to England. So I absolutely couldn't rule it out because of that. If it was anyone else's agent, I'd say no, it's not happening. Financially, Arsenal can't do it. But just the fact that Kia is his agent leaves a little thought in my mind that something might happen in the summer as the summer progresses. But right now, I still think it's unlikely just because of the finances involved, even if it's a loan deal, because even the loan fee and the wages something that Arsenal are going to struggle with. But we'll have to wait and see. Again, like I said, the fact that Kia Drabshin's involved means I would never totally rule it out. Another one on Coutinho there, 2020 vision. Regarding this Coutinho for Guendouzi rumour, would Barca really be prepared to bring in a player with such alleged hubris, which is now perfectly clear Leo Messi is no longer prepared to carry? Look, I don't know. I saw that rumour doing around. I still think Barcelona, could you really just do a straight swap Guendouzi for Coutinho? I think Barca, as much as they want Coutinho off the books and they want to get his wages off the books, I still think that's a bit, they'd want some money, I think, at least. But so I don't think that his attitude will stop clubs signing him. I think each club who signs him, we've seen it with these sort of players before, will think they can calm him down and get the best out of him. And Guendouzi is a very talented footballer. So in a way, it makes it a shame that he is, I think, going to leave Arsenal. But I don't think that would necessarily put Barcelona off. Paul asked about Arteta's backroom staff and if there'll be any additions in the summer. I think a lot of that depends on Freddie Ljungberg. Will Freddie want to get approaches to go and be a first-team coach somewhere else? Which, if he will, I imagine will be quite attractive to him, given where he was at Arsenal when he took over for it briefly. Now he's not exactly at the front line of Arteta's coaching staff. He's involved a lot, especially on the training ground at London Colney. He's very heavily involved, but he's not really got the match day involvement. He's up in the stands, working for Arteta up there, but he's not down in the dugout. So I think if someone comes in for Freddie will certainly listen to it. And if Freddie leaves, then there'll be a spot on Arteta's coaching team that he might make an addition. So I think it all revolves around Freddie Ljungberg, Paul, in that regard. Had he asked how many players do you think Arsenal had in the transfer market? Again, I'm not even going to. It'd be a guess. I wouldn't know. A lot of it depends on who's sold, who needs to come in to replace those sold players. I think Arsenal are probably looking at 3 or 4 additions in the summer. Cobby asked, why do you think KSC finds it difficult investing money into Arsenal? Because they just don't want to. Simple as that. It's not a case of being difficult. They could do it if they wanted to, but they don't want to. They want Arsenal to run in a self-sustainable model. And that's why. Simple as that. Ross asked, with Arteta stating Suarez is the best in the final third, do you think we will sell Bellerin and bring in another right back? It's a tough one. I think Bellerin's still ahead of Arteta, still ahead of Suarez in the pecking order for me. So I don't think so. Again, as I said at the start of this, I think anyone's for sale. If a really decent bid comes in for Bellerin this summer, someone whacks down 30 million on the table for him, would Arsenal think about it? I think they probably would, but I don't think he's absolutely someone that they're looking desperately to get rid of this summer by any means. And the fact, he's still starting games. I thought he was good in the semi-final against Man City. He struggled initially, but then I thought he was good. Such a fantastic guy around the changing room, real leader in that changing room. So I don't think they're looking to get rid of him necessarily. But if a massive bid came in for him, then they might well consider it. God, I'm sorry if I get this pronunciation. I presume it's just "here is mud." Is the Twitter handle. Says, who are some great under-23 players for Arsenal who really stand out and could bring some much-needed depth to our first team squad? It depends who you're asking about there, really. If you're looking at the ones coming through below the current crop, you've got players like Miguel Aziz, who's great, really talented player. I think he'll be pushing for a first-team involvement very soon. We've seen Matt Smith on the bench recently. I know Arteta really, really likes him, thinks he's a fantastic passer of the ball. Harry Clark, good, promising defender, captain of the under-23s, not really had any involvement yet. Smith Rowe's coming back, obviously. I mean, they're the more well-known guys. Shame looks like Balogun's going to be leaving. I think he could have provided some. You've got Tyrese John-Jules next season if he doesn't go out on loan again. So, there's plenty. I still think Georgie Osei-Tutu as well. I'm going to be really interested to see what happens to him if he comes back in the summer. He did very well in Germany. I think he's a really good player. Anyone I speak to about Osei-Tutu thinks he should have had an opportunity by now in the first team. Obviously, he did very well in Germany, so I think he's going to have a lot of people looking at him in the summer. The fact that Suarez has come in might mean that Arsenal would look to cash in on Osei-Tutu because he's not going to want to come sit back on the bench, and he's too old, too experienced for it to go back into under-23s football now. So something's going to have to happen with him. I think Sam Greenwood, really exciting young forward coming through as well, sort of scratching below the surface. He's behind the likes of John Jules, obviously, and Ketia, but a very good young attacking forward coming through whose pathway might be opened by the fact that Balogun's going to move on, probably going to move on in the summer. So he's a talented kid as well. There's plenty of them. What do you reckon will happen with Torreira in the future? Ask Ab. I've said this before with Torreira. I think, again, he's one of the players that I think that Arsenal might consider selling if a decent bid comes in, especially if they manage to get the deal over the line for Partey. I think they'll look at Torreira as someone they might be able to make some money out of. But obviously they've got the Guendouzi situation, who was one player I didn't think they were going to sell a few months ago, but now this situation's all come to a head. It looks like he's certainly on his way out. So can you really get rid of Torreira and Guendouzi in the same window? Maybe not. So, I still like Lucas Torreira. I really do. I think he's a good player. I think it's what Unai Emery did to him really hampered Torreira, really put him back, set him back in his sort of Arsenal career. And I'm hoping that Arteta can get the best out of him. So I think it all depends, as I said before, on what sort of offers come in for him. But, I think he'd be pretty keen to go back to Italy if he could. But whether a team offers the sort of money that Arsenal would appeal to Arsenal, I just don't know if they will or not. Advit, I think is the name. What do you think Mikel and co will do with some of the younger players in the club? Smith Rowe, Mavropanos, Osi Tutu, Tyrese, John Jules. Well, we've seen Mavropanos has gone out on loan anyway, signed his new contract and gone out on loan for another season in Germany. I still think Emil Smith Rowe will come back and push for an opportunity in the first team squad next season, especially if Mesut Ozil continues to be sidelined. I'm not sure Smith Rowe will be, come back and be a starter in that sort of attacking midfield role, but I think he'll give an option for Arteta where he doesn't have too many. I think Tyrese might go out on loan again. They'll make a decision with Tyrese in the summer, in pre-season, about what to do with him. I know that if he goes out on loan, I know that he's looking at potentially going abroad for a season. But with Balogun going in the summer, maybe they want to keep John Jules as backup and include him more around the first team. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But I imagine he's going to head out on loan again, probably abroad. And OC Tutu, my hunch on it, and having spoken to OC Tutu not too long ago when he was over in Germany, I know he absolutely isn't going to come back and play under 23s football or anything like that. So unless he gets guarantees of being involved around the first team, then I think OC Tutu will have to head off and carry on playing. He's at a stage of his career now where he can't be playing under 23s. He needs to play. He's done very well in Germany, so I expect he'll probably go unless he gets assurances from Arsenal about regular first team involvement next season. Vineth asked about Ainsley Maitland-Niles and if with his performance convince Arteta that he can trust him. Well, look, I spoke to Arteta about this. I asked him directly about Maitland-Niles and whether he trusts him, and he told me that he absolutely did. And then a couple of days later, he went and started him in the semi-final. And I think if there's ever a show of trust, it's that. It's the fact against Manchester City, against their quality, he turned to Maitland-Niles to do a job, and he did it fantastically. He was brilliant, Ainsley. I want Arsenal to keep Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I don't think they should sell him. I think he offers really good protection in various areas. He's versatile. I think there's lots more to come from him as well if he gets his head right. His performance at Wembley just showed how good a player he can be, and that was on the wrong side and out of position. I think he's a really good player. I don't think Arsenal should be selling him. So I hope that Arteta is what he says to me is true, and that he does trust Ainsley, and I think he should be one that they should be looking to keep on. Interesting one here from Mai, I think, says, do you think we will sell one of Leno and Martinez to raise funds? It's really interesting one, the goalkeeper situation at Arsenal. Absolutely nailed on Bernd Leno #1 just a couple of months ago, but Martinez, Emmy, has been... I don't think it's going over the top stage. He's been the best goalkeeper in England since the return to football. You just have a look at the stats since he's come into side. Incredible. Every area of his game, he's been brilliant. Shot stopping, fantastic. Crosses, fantastic. Command in his box, fantastic. Distribution, fantastic. I just think he's been magnificent. And whether we haven't seen him do it for a long period of time. That's the thing. He's in the side. He's buzzing. He's got so much confidence. He's playing well. Can he continue? Can he have the longevity to keep that? But you sort of look at it at the moment and just think, how do you put Martinez back to number 2? And Leno's great. I think Leno's would have been player of the season if he didn't get injured. It'll probably be Aubameyang now. But I don't know. You look at Emi and certainly what he's done, and I think he looks a stronger goalkeeper than Leno. I think Leno's great in shot stopping, but you look at distribution and you look at command in your area and coming for crosses, and what we've seen from Martinez, I think he seems far ahead of Leno in all of those regards. And I'm quite close to Reading. I used to cover Reading before I moved over and became an Arsenal reporter, and I went and spoke to Martinez while he was on loan at Reading last year, and I'm still in close contact with a lot of people at that club, a lot of fans as well, and they loved him. What he's doing at Arsenal now, he did for Reading last season. They think he's the best goalkeeper they've ever had, and trust me, I know Reading have had some good goalkeepers in the past. So it's not a one-off. He was doing it last season in the Championship as well. I just think, I don't know. For me, I can't see him going back. If Arsenal don't qualify for Europe and they tell Martinez you're going to be number 2 next season, he could only play a couple of games because there's only going to be the FA Cup and the League Cup. And I just don't see how he can possibly go back to that now, having had this run as number 1, having shown exactly what he can do, the age that he's at. I don't think he can go back to being number 2. So I do think you're going to have to sell one if Arsenal don't qualify for Europe. But I would almost say you'd sell Leno at the moment. But it's tough because, again, I said the whole longevity thing. But you just look at it and think, who long-term, Martinez in the academy, he's come through, he's been here 10 years. He's got the homegrown status. Who do you sell, Leno or Martinez? And it seems mad to even suggest selling Leno because of how good he's been. But as it stands right now, I'd almost say I'd rather go forward with Martinez as number 1 than Leno, and for me that sounds mental, but that's what I would. But I mean, that's a long way of answering the question, basically saying I don't know, because it's something that Arsenal are going to have to work out in the summer if someone makes a big bid for either goalkeeper. But I think it's going to be very hard to keep the 2 of them happy next season. Mark says, "Hi Charles, love your YouTube channel. Thank you very much, Mark. What are Arsenal's chances on keeping Ceballos? Also, Valencia, apparently planning to sell some players. Kondogbia is one of them. Arsenal should be pursuing as a Partey alternative. In terms of Ceballos, Arsenal, they do want to keep him. They're looking at possibly getting him on for another season on loan, which I think ticks a lot of boxes for Arsenal. I mean, fair play to Danny Ceballos. Just a few weeks ago, I'd have thought he's definitely going back to Madrid. Obviously, there wasn't any clause in the contract to turn the move permanent or anything like that when they signed him last summer. I didn't think he was really working out under Artesa. He wasn't starting, but since the restart, he's been absolutely magnificent, just like Martinez. He's benefiting massively from playing in that deeper role alongside Xhaka. Arteta absolutely trusts him right now. And I don't think Ceballos is going to play when he goes back to Madrid. Zidane's going to stay there. Zidane's not going to leave. Zidane, we know, doesn't really rate him too highly. So Arsenal won't be able to sign him permanently. I can't see him spending the money to sign him permanently. So, but getting him on loan, it just ticks a lot of boxes again. And then possibly getting him on loan with an option to buy him next summer is the thing that Arsenal are looking at. So yes, they are interested in keeping hold of Ceballos, and I think that might be something that we get quite a swift conclusion on once the season has come to an end. GSW James. Oh, going back to Mark's question on Kondogbia, I don't think Arsenal. I mean, he's a player that they've been linked with an awful lot, but I don't think that's something that would happen now. GSW James says, when funds are limited, why does Partey seem a priority when it could be better spent elsewhere? I don't think it could, and it says centre back. I actually don't think it could be better. So I think the holding midfield role is absolutely vital for Arsenal to get something better than what they've got. As I was saying, I think Ceballos has been great. I think Xhaka has been great, but I think you still need something else in that central midfield role. I'm not sure 3 at the back is the way to go long term for Arsenal. I'm not sure Arteta does either. I think if you can really condense that midfield, have 3 quality midfield players there with Partey, and Partey is not just an out defensive midfielder. He gets the ball and he drives forward. He turns defence into attack very, very quickly. So I don't think it could. I think if Arsenal sort out the midfield area, for me, it's the most pressing area. I know everyone focuses on defence, but I think if you sort out midfield, you transform this Arsenal team. So I think that's why he's a priority. HM says, what is Lundberg's role? I actually spoke about that earlier in the video, HM, so please do head back and have a look at that rather than me going over it again. And lots of rumours about Juve offloading Ramsey. Would Arsenal be open to taking him back? No. I mean, they could have done it far. They're not going to do it now, where you have to pay a transfer fee and give them massive wages. So, no, they're not going to get Rambo back, unfortunately, as much as I would love that to happen. King Covey, I think, says, if we win the last 2 games in the FA Cup, do you think the board will invest? Well, I think they'll invest more just because Arsenal will be in Europe if that happens. So, but I don't think they're going to suddenly give them a load more money out their own pocket. Well, not the board anyway, because the board don't have money. It's Kroenke's money. So Stan won't suddenly dip into his own pocket because he's never done it and he never will. Plus, he's dealing with COVID crisis, which is affecting his finances, not just at Arsenal, but around all his various clubs, franchises over in America. So no, I don't think that will happen. Arteta's Army says, does Arteta want to keep Lacazette? And if he leaves, who are the potential replacements? It's a weird one. Like, we spoke to Arteta about this, asked him again, and do you want Lacazette next season? And his exact answer was, why would I want a player like that to leave? Which suggests he absolutely wants Alexander Lacazette. Lacazette against Man City was absolutely. That was Lacazette at his very best at Wembley. It was fantastic. All areas of the pitch was fantastic. But he's got 2 years left on his contract. He hasn't signed a new one yet. Talks aren't really going anywhere with signing a new one yet. Arsenal biding their time, waiting. And I think Lacazette might be a player, if they can convince Aubameyang to stay, that he might be a player that they look at as someone they can sell, given his age, given he's only got 2 years left on his contract. He might be someone that they can look to move on this summer to either raise funds or involve in a swap deal to bring someone else into the squad. So, Arteta will be perfectly happy if Lacazette is still at the club next season. But given the situation, given the contract, I still think that it might be something that happens this summer, that he is one of the players that Arsenal look to move on. But again, we'll have to wait and see. It's so much uncertainty. Honestly, you speak to Mikel Arteta about all this stuff, and he cannot believe the uncertainty going on, and how even now, with a couple of weeks to the end of the season, he still doesn't know exactly what's going on. They're still working to different options: Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. And that in terms of what sort of finances are offered, if there's minimal finances offer, or if there are no finances on offer. It's so uncertain. You've also got to factor in things like Aubameyang. Will he go? Will he stay? So, Arsenal are going into this window with so many uncertainties heading over them. It's a really interesting one. Right, I'm going to stop this now, end of part 1, because we're coming up to half an hour. Like I said, I don't want this to go on too long and bore the hell out of you, so I'll split this into a few parts because I've still got so much to go through. So this is the end of part 1. Thank you very much for watching. Please do stick around over the next day or so for part 2, and I will get that up for you to watch as well.